Ladies and gentlemen, wow, thank you so much for joining me for this very, very special episode of Afternoon at the Museum. I have with me the master shredder, the master of disaster himself, Imminent Rain, Luke Mason, ladies and gentlemen. All right, how you doing,
Hey,
Luke? What's up?
good to see you.
Oh,
Thanks
it's
for
so
having
hard.
me, Donald.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, dude. It's, as I think about having guests on this show, I don't know. I'd somehow, we were in the WAC chat and with our collective chat, and I thought, Luke, yeah, let's get Luke on. That'll be good fun. You and I always have a lot of fun chit chatting and joking around, bantering, all that. So, and that's pretty much the spirit of the show. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. Of course, cultural and all that other good stuff too. But there's many kinds of art, and so I thought, well, what kind of art would the mighty Luke Mason want to see? And so we talked a little bit. You mentioned Gustav Doray, who,
Oh
interestingly
yeah.
enough, we my last guest, the French meme artist Flash Gorgon, he at the very end of the show he asked me to look up Doray, and I didn't know Doray was French. I don't know why. I thought he was like Hungarian or something. I don't know what. I don't know what I was thinking. But yes, so we started looking at his work, and I love Gustav Doray's work. And so I thought, wow, I'd like to do more on that artist because it's really, really powerful work. It's the kind of work you see once in a while in memes or GIFs in our sphere, in the white
Mhm.
positive sphere. There's something extremely heroic about it. He does mostly these black and white etchings, which and what I found out about him that blew my mind was that he's self-taught, and I'm kind
You're
of like,
kidding me.
I know, I'm like, no way, that's
That's
impossible.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, I would imagine he must have gotten some kind of technical training, but as far as the drawing itself, that it in his wiki bio it says he's self-taught. Anyway, there you go. And then we talked a little more, and you were like, Frank Frazetta, and I'm like, of course, that's the king of bad himself, Frank Frazetta. Now, there's a Frank Frazetta museum in Pennsylvania, actually, which is quite amazing. I believe it's run by his family, something like that. It'd be a cool road trip to go there. I know it'd be a little far for you, but
Hey man, I've driven pretty far.
yeah,
Uh, but
yeah,
that would be worthy of a pilgrimage, I think.
I should agree. Yeah,
Mm.
and especially for me as a painter too, there's no way to escape wanting to be Frank Frazetta if you're a painter. It's just like
Yeah.
you might as well just surrender to it because like the man is the man. He's the master of disaster. His the masculine heroicism of his work is just sets the bar. It's the standard. But yeah, so let's let the audience get to know you a little bit. Anybody who doesn't know who Luke Mason is, what would you tell them? How would you warn them?
Oh geez. Well, you know, I'm just a musician and a martial arts instructor who lives in North Idaho. And
Well,
yeah, I have an appreciation for art and aesthetics. I think if I hadn't gotten so focused and so serious on music and martial arts,
mhm.
um, I may have been able to been more of a Renaissance man like you, Donald, and really gotten into the visual arts as well because I love to draw and I know how challenging it is to successfully express yourself in the visual arts and a
Mhm.
lot of discipline as far as even just down to like the basic mark making and making confident
Mhm.
lines instead of like feathering everything and uh, yeah, that's a recent bad habit I was trying to get over when I was doing a little art course online and I was like,
Oh,
wow,
cool.
this is actually really difficult. It was the draw a box. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Material, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of discipline to it, but luckily I'm surrounded by excellent artists like yourself and my dear friend Groundhog Fury, and there's a few others that I keep seeing on Twitter the Dora fellow.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
just interviewed him on American
Oh,
Zarathustra.
yeah, that
Yeah.
dude's awesome.
Oh my gosh, his so he did a little a little kind of short course on the new NFT craze. This sort of basically it's a kind of a Bitcoin art thing that's going
Mhm.
on right now. A lot of people are trying to cash in on, and so yeah, I mean, of course, I can't help but think about that, right, as a source of income, or see about that. But I'm up to my eyeballs in commissions and projects at the moment, so we'll see how that goes in the future. But
Yeah.
so tell us about any your music and your relationship with the White Art Collective and your general.
Oh, yeah. Well, I started as a kid who grew up listening to classic rock, and I also played in band from a young age. And so I got an appreciation for, the classics and for jazz. And then I kind of started to fall in love with metal in high school. I consider myself like a kind of like a jazz and classically trained metal musician, I
Wicked,
guess you could say. But
wicked, yeah.
then in my 30s, I really got into it. I was going to go to school to become a classical guitar instructor because I had fallen in love with classical music through being a musician in the Catholic Church. But then I started seeing these things. Like I saw this metal documentary by Sam Dunn, and then of course I saw the Pick of Destiny, the Tenacious D movie, and I just felt like, okay, these are my people. The heavy metal thing is where my heart's at, and I was already into like Yngwie Malmsteen and
Yeah.
Iron Maiden and Queensryche, and then I just really I got bit by the bug and got into it, and just
Hmm.
kind of became a scholar about metal and
Yeah.
the various different bands and genres and whatnot.
Hmm.
And yeah, so as far as my involvement with WAC, I became aware of the way things are in about 2015. I saw the immigration crisis into Europe, and I saw that there was a very obvious agenda to replace European culture and European people with something else. And
Yeah.
it totally triggered me. I got super angry, red pill rage for a while, and made
Hmm.
some super extreme music that I probably shouldn't even talk about. And then I kind of realized that it would be a smarter approach to use symbolism and allegory to
Hmm.
express myself in heavy metal. So
Hmm.
instead of talking about any particular hidden societies or groups of people that I feel are antagonistic toward, my people, I used wizards and goblins and dragons and
Yeah. The
and that whole realm. And I was
open war is
already
upon
a
you.
fantasy nerd. Yes,
Yes.
open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not.
Yes. Raise up your swords. I know I'm 1,000% with you there, brother. So here's a little bit of I don't guess White Art Collective lore that not many people might know, but you played bass with me at the first White Art Collective Music Festival. So that
Yes,
was exquisite. I mean, what a cool experience that was. What was it like
it
for you?
it was awesome. I wanted to lead on to that, but I'm such a blabbermouth sometimes. I just get going and I get off on a tangent. But dude, I love your songs, man. I've always been a fan of them. And it was a great honor to be able to play with you and your buddy that played drums with us. And
Mhm.
the whole festival was just magical.
Yeah.
The trip over with my bro Alma, it
Hmm.
was like it was magical and unforgettable, and I just felt such a strong bond with all of you
Yeah.
at the festival, and that's only continued. And I felt that way before I went, which is why I volunteered like without hesitation. Alma was the same way. He's like, dude, we got to do it, and I was
Yeah.
like, hell yes, let's go. And
Yeah.
so we get there and everything is so amazing. The coleslaw was divine.
That's a legendary coleslaw. It's funny that that has a place in WAC history now.
Oh yeah, coleslaw
Um,
nationalism.
yeah. Well, we should just tell our guests that there was some food by the hosts of the event, etc., and it was just like magical. I mean, this is how you do it. You have a giant tent in an undisclosed location in nature, and you've got massive amounts of great food and drink. It was kind of like a convention where there were tables of artists. Antelope Hill was there. I bought some books from them. I bought some art prints from Jay LeDarc. Of course, getting to actually meet face to face all these legendary people in not only the White Art Collective but the surrounding political sphere. You know, meeting Josh Neal, Jerome Schmidt, etc. That kind of, I was nerding out so hard when I met Emily Lucas. I think Emily Lucas was like, "Look, I'm married. Back off, buddy." You know, I'm like, "I'm just a fan." You know, I love what you do. You know, anyway. But what I mean, and then to actually be on stage with you, and I don't know, I can't say enough about the bass lines that you wrote. You're really known as a guitarist, not a bass player, I guess, right? But you somehow magically wrote these beautiful accompaniments to my songs. Anyway, it's just a great thing that we did, and a great memory, and I hope that we can pull that off again in the future.
Oh, me too, man. It was awesome.
Notice and I were talking about, you know, we need to tour Europe. We have to have like a White Art Collective festival and tour across Europe. So that would be a great dream.
Bro, I'm there.
Yeah. Well, let's dive right in here, people. Let me do the old share screen magic here. Let me see. What are the magic words here? Alakazam. Presto. I think it worked. Yeah.
I thought it was bibbity bobbity boo.
Bippity boppity boo. That's a different kind of magic, I think. Anyway, so here's a look at, again, Gustav Doray's work. I'll expand the art a little bit here. Give a sort of a little bit of a close-up view. Here's a really powerful piece. Obviously, I guess this would be Samson and Delilah.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to turn my camera off because I'm looking at this on my phone.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn my camera off so that I can take a closer look at these.
Okay, do your thing.
Okay.
I'll chat about this a little bit. So in all of my shows, I always try to talk about visual literacy. So, like, if you were, let's say, studying music, you would study, you know, major and minor and composition and tempo and styles and this and that and all the things about music. Even just the casual music listener knows the difference between music styles and different artists, musicians, I should say, and, you know, beats and this kind of thing. Some of us, we nerd out on like subgenres of alt rock or like, you know, different kinds of techno music, for example, different kinds of heavy metal, etc. So in the visual art world, just try to think of it like music for your eyes. Mm-hmm. And something like this, it's just black and white. So with black and white, you have literally just light and shadow and yes. Line. And so this kind of the work that Doray does is he does so much with so little. So here you can, I'm just sort of trying to do these close-ups. There's like several works of art in one work of art. If you look at the drama of this scene where you see this man pulling this woman's dress and she's holding the baby and they're all sort of cowering, preparing, you know, to be crushed to death. This man leaning against the wall, you know, expecting to die. These people kind of falling off. As I believe Samson, you know, pushes down the temple walls here. But what's curious about this, let me back up a bit here, is the way he uses people almost like clouds or like water, the way that they flow throughout the picture. This is really interesting.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
You see those folks falling from that banister or balcony, that's over there, and then at the top, he's got bowls up there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can kind of see sort of I'm trying to do this with my touch screen. But yeah, you can kind of see the bowl at the top. The architecture and all of this is just made with different line thickness. Like you have extremely hair thin lines that are very, very light. and then thicker lines where the ink can go into the metal plate that he's carving into. And then you take a piece of paper, you press it against the plate, it pulls the ink off, you get a print. So it's crazy to think that, I mean, the skill and even just the ideation of this, like how do you construct a piece like this? One thing that I love about this the most, though, is how he uses like medium to dark tones sort of in the middle ground where Samson is pushing things down, but then the background is where the light is. So that creates a wonderful contrast and drama, I think, in this piece. And then it's sort of asymmetrical, even though he's in the center. It's kind of odd. It seems to lean to the left a little bit, I feel, as far as like where the emphasis is, right? But how do you feel about this piece?
Well, those pillars, there's the one that's to the left, and it's broken and jagged, and the tip of that, like where that is highlighted, the tip that's like breaking outward toward the people, and then the other pillar that's cracked, those kind of remind me of the rule of thirds. I kind of got into that a little bit with studying some film and stuff on my own.
Can you explain that? Could you explain that?
Yeah, like if you draw like vertical lines through the piece,
through the art, right?
Yes, so like through the art.
I don't know if you can see my cursor here going
up and down. Yes. Yeah, so that would definitely be one of them.
Right. If I were to chop this up and then I think to go across like so and like so, is that correct? And
yeah.
You kind of one of the largest emphasis areas in one of these. So there would be 3 boxes here, 3 boxes across the bottom, 3 across the top. You even have 3 columns here, which I find interesting. The foreground, middle ground, background, there tends to be the use of some, of threes, I guess, or thirds, I guess, if you will. And it creates a wholeness and a balance, totality that I think is visually organic and riveting. It's powerful. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it really, where that broken pillar is placed, to me, really draws my eye toward that because of it just shows the prominence of the idea of breaking the pillars. And how that's central to the story of Samson in that scene.
And his power, his strength, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And gosh, the other thing I'm picking up on is, maybe this is a little bit of a subconscious thing or just my own bias, but I'm looking at the structure and the grandeur of the architecture, the Gentile architecture that the Jewish Samson is destroying.
Wow. Right. We could easily go into some deeper thoughts on that. I believe that a lot of his work is biblical.
Yes.
There's a piece that we looked at with Flash Gorgon. Now, this I believe is a painting, but what was the damn thing I was going to say? I lost my track of. It was the Crusades, and I was thinking, that's really what Christians should be today. Is like these crusaders, and not like, female ministers and rainbow flags, and instead like drive the foreign hordes out of our lands. That kind of Christianity is what we need today. And it's that opens up a massive can of worms there. But let's have a look at this piece here. What's happening in this piece?
Oh my! To be honest, I'm not sure. Is this even the same fellow? Is this still Doray?
Yeah, this is still Doray. It almost looks like a Black Sabbath album cover or something.
It does. Is this the people, trying to hide themselves from the wrath of God with that lightning bolt striking the?
Possibly. I can back out and do. There's like a little blurb on it. let me kind of just take a quick look at it first there. But it really, really exemplifies the quality of this artist, the vision of this artist, his use of man and nature, his use of light and shadow, extraordinarily dramatic, very
Yeah,
theatrical.
the
You can,
poses are fantastic too. Like the lines, the way
yeah,
that he positions the body, they're not
yeah,
like square poses. They're very organic and there's a
dynamic.
good,
Yeah,
yeah, they're very dynamic.
it's marvelous work. Let me back out of this one and see if Clash of the Titans, 1866,
Oh, okay.
and it doesn't have any information about it. It's mythology. That's all
Oh,
of it
okay.
is. But some of the images have little sort of text blurbs that go with them, but we can kind of look around a bit more. Let's load some more images. And I do have Frazetta set up for us in a bit here. So, what was it about Doray's work that particularly excites you, or why you wanted to look at it?
Uh, you know, this is gonna sound really weird, bro,
Go ahead.
but for me, I discovered his work reading the Douay Rheims Catholic Bible.
Okay.
And this was weird because, oh, see, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The fallen
Yeah.
angel and all that. Um,
Yeah.
I discovered his work, when I was like an extremely fanatical Catholic.
Okay.
And but what I liked about it was how dark and creepy it was. Like
Mm.
I was looking at these, pictures in my Bible, and I was like, wow, those are like really scary.
Mm.
Like it really, if I was like a little child reading this Bible, I would be terrified of God.
No, I know it's because not all etchings are dark and heavy and scary like this. Believe me, there's some very lovely, beautiful ones, but his he seems to be really in touch with something horrifying. I don't know what else to call it. There's a kind of like something Dante about him. There's like there's something deeper and darker in his whole worldview. I think not that there isn't beautiful visions in there as well, but
Oh,
he's
sure.
quite in touch with the drama.
Yeah,
But
and what's ironic to me is that even when I was like a really devout, scrupulous Catholic, I still was drawn to that darkness, and that's for me. That's what I appreciated about his work. Is I just
hmm.
I don't know, man. I just always liked the dark and scary stuff.
Hmm. Now, why though? Like, what is it about that seems to grab you or mean something to you?
I just like the you know okay, so I think what it is, and I think this is also going to relate to my appreciation for Frazetta as
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
and also Stephen Gamel if we have any time for him. But is that when I think of strength, when I think of power,
Hmm.
when I think of, like, for instance, the king
Hmm.
of the jungle has claws and fangs, and
Hmm.
that's a scary beast. When I think of the what is at the top of the food chain, it's
Hmm.
not the herbivorous, pacifistic rabbit. It's it's the fierce predator with sharp teeth and muscles and the whole nine yards. And it just reminds me of the natural order, I suppose. I guess my worldview about the universe is definitely not one of like a utopian worldview, but
Hmm.
what's the word? Adversarial.
I see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's certainly a great sense of drama,
Hmm.
struggle, pain, fear. But I think driving behind that is this kind of longing for God, this kind of struggle in faith, one's faith that I sense. Maybe that's just me bringing something to it, but this is something I always mention in all of the museum shows: is the sense or the idea of the artistic experience or the aesthetic experience, which is how we bring our own ideas, feelings, interpretations, meaning to the art, that the art stimulates us to create meaning. And we
Yeah,
we have our own relationships with art, with visual art and song,
totally.
right? I mean, gosh, more so than anything I mean, this is the age of film and music, right? And even video games,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's the age we live in. But us Westerners, we have an extraordinarily rich history of visual art, and how Hollywood and the rest are run by a certain tribe that wants to demoralize and erase us. So it's healthy and important for us to look back into our own history, even though some of it might be influenced by them, but
Yeah.
to see our people making, because like to me this is a scene from a movie right here. This could be easily something on par with like a Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because the rocks totally remind me of Mordor. The other
Yeah,
thing I was just thinking about that, like if I compare this style of art, it has sharp edges.
hmm,
It's like those wings, those are like claws or teeth or something.
yeah, very
Like
sharp.
if you got poked by one of those, it would hurt. Now
Yeah,
contrast that to the corporate Google style of art that we see. And it's like
uh,
a polar opposite. And I think there's part of that I appreciate about Doré as well is that I get so tired of like I guess what you would call it is like an infantile,
yeah,
all the lines are soft and
yeah,
non-threatening. And it
yeah,
just
yeah,
literally, dude, that kind of like non-threatening art just kind of nauseates me. I just
hugely.
get so tired of it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing about art, is that in a sense that we are reflected in it. And if we're always
Yeah.
seeing images of these kind of like puffy little marshmallow people that, are just meant to like consume products and all this bullshit, like
Yeah, like
it's
the people in Wall-E, that movie where they're all on a spaceship and they're all fat and
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
around.
I think
Yeah,
that's the globalist ideal. They would love that, and
absolutely.
shoot us off into space, and then they can take the rest of the world and make everybody into like trans robots and stuff. Um, so this one is much, much more poetic and magical in a sort of a beautiful sense. They're actually,
Oh
I
yeah.
actually, I really do see a little bit of that drama in there. There's something going on, especially at the rock at the top there. It's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like it looks like a bird eating a dead body or something up there. It's tough
Or
to,
yeah, like maybe Prometheus and his Vitiant or something. Uh,
yeah, that's it's
but
tough to
he's
see.
not chained to the rock or anything, so
Right.
not sure what's going
I'll
on.
right. I'll back out in a second here and see quickly what's the title of this piece. The Oceanides. Let's click on it, see if there's any info. It's a mythological painting. I don't know the story behind that, but it does have that, once again, that the use of the sort of the flowiness of it. Oh, I lost it. Now it's gone.
There's
But
something really, really profoundly beautiful about the
yeah.
the way he picks the naked female form too.
Mhm,
It's just
mhm.
uh,
And when we get to Frazetta shortly, we'll really be indulging in the beauty of the female form. So
for sure.
he truly is a master of that. Let's just maybe look at one more. That every one of these is just stunning. The use of light and
Oh yeah.
narrative. Like I really respond to the narrative quality of these things. The difference between fine art and illustration is essentially the storytelling. Fine art, I think, is leans much more towards just aesthetic beauty. It
Mm.
can, of course, have narrative to it, obviously, and these do. Obviously, these are works of fine art. Illustration can cross over into the commercial, the educational,
Mhm.
but here you have a piece that looks like, these. It looks like a religious scene, maybe something from hell or something of this nature. You can easily create a narrative to this. It's almost like the raising of the dead. let's take a quick look at the title.
Yeah,
The
the
vision,
vision of the dry bones. Is that
correct.
Elijah? Yeah,
I
and he has this. I don't know. I hesitate to use the word psychedelic, but it's the first one that came to mind. But
yeah.
he's envisioning this. These people. From bones, and then all the bones being put together, and then all the flesh being added in layers on top of it.
Wow.
And I forget, because it's been so long since I read that section of the Bible. I forget the exact
Hmm.
purpose of what that was all about. But I mean,
Hmm.
you can see in the poses, like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one skeleton that's like holding his hands up almost in like a form
Yeah.
of
Like,
of
like
intense prayer.
yeah, like thank God or something. You have,
Yeah.
and there's almost a sort of a timeline. This one looks like it's lifting a rock off itself. It's coming out of the grave. This one over here is searching for his head. Like this one looks like he's putting his head on. And
Yeah.
then and over here as well, it's and then here you kind of see people that seem to be more formed, like fully formed. But
Yeah. It makes me
wow.
wonder, when I was a Catholic, we talked a lot about the Old Testament prefiguring things that would happen in the New Testament. Like, for instance, the resurrection of the body that's talked about by Christ in the New Testament. I wonder if this is like an Old Testament prefigurement, or like a
Yeah,
foreshadowing of things to come.
I've never really made the connection between the Old Testament and the New Testament in terms of, like, to me, Christianity should just be the New Testament. I don't like it's all Jewish history, Jewish lore, Jewish religion. Like, why is it in the Bible? I mean, maybe Jesus descended from David, but other than that, I'm sure the biblical scholars are having an aneurysm right now, hearing me say that, but I just feel like, I don't know. I'm going to stop there because that'll just.
Oh yeah, well, you know, I uh, I I've come across many Christians who feel that way, so I don't
Oh,
see it as anything unusual. And I'm
yeah,
I'm the opposite. I Even when I was like a diehard Deus Vult Catholic,
yeah.
I still kind of liked the Old Testament more, just simply because it was more violent.
it's, it's pretty insane. Now, you mentioned Stephen Gamel. Is this Stephen Gamel? Is this his
Oh
work?
yes, oh yes. This stuff
Very, yeah.
warped me as a child, and I loved it.
It's quite horrific.
It
Quite horrific.
is.
Yeah. Now, very, very strong use of light, but also more like ink wash kind of work. It's
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Odilon Redon? It's I probably massacring his name. It's Odilon Redon. He's I believe a French surrealist from the surrealist movement. These kind of remind me of his works. They're grotesque.
Yes.
Redon's not as grotesque as this. These are sort of like sick children's stories.
Yeah. It's like grotesque, so far over the top that it's comical.
Okay. Yeah, these are truly nightmarish for sure. I think
Welcome
I'm
to my world.
yeah, I see. I'm just a tourist in your world, by the way. I won't be staying. So did he design yeah, this is from a famous horror movie, this creature here. I guess I'll just
Oh, yes. Actually, come to think of it, recently with the kids, I think it was maybe last Halloween, we bought a movie make of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and that particular creature was in it.
yeah.
And they did a great job depicting it with the special effects and everything.
Super,
I
yeah,
mean, it
very
was
realistic.
totally horrifying.
Oh God, yeah. I've seen scenes of it. I didn't watch the whole movie, but I'll hands down, yes. Creepy, scary,
There
definitely
was
success.
definitely, I don't know about the movie, to be honest. The movie, of course, since it's more modern, had a bunch of paused globo homo themes in it. So I can't really recommend the movie, but the effects were spectacular.
we got to get someone in our sphere who can take movies, hijack them, cut out all the global homo garbage, and then just package it back together and throw it up on like Odyssey or some place that we can watch it and be like, how refreshing. We don't have to watch that crap. But
Yeah, or even just, I'm really a big fan of what's going on in the White Art Collective with our own filmmakers. I think that if we had a budget, I absolutely believe that we would be making all kinds of just really profound cinematic art,
I'll tell you the truth, like comic books, graphic novels are films on paper. So I'm just a frustrated filmmaker. That's all I am.
Yeah.
I kid you not. If I had millions of dollars, when I have millions of dollars, then there's a likelihood that I could get into film. Of course, we know the whole establishment is cornered by a certain small hat tribe. But anyway, you're right. I think, if there's filmmakers out there that want to get more involved in the White Art Collective, please, whiteartcollective.com, get involved in our sphere. It's just always growing, and there's just more and more cool stuff coming out. Why don't we take this segment here to go into the world of Frank Frazetta. Now,
heck yeah,
the king of badass himself. So I looked around for Frazetta websites, to find like good quality art with decent color and etc. And I was disappointed at the Frazetta Museum. It seems to be more about selling stuff, but I did come across this site, and it looks like it was thrown together in like 1990. Like the user is horrible, but the artwork is quite phenomenal. This piece has always really excited me a lot on a couple levels here. So this, again, the sense of the drama of Conan, for example, like Frazetta's associated a lot with Conan the Barbarian. And he's put in these like impossible situations. How is he gonna get out of this one? You know what I'm saying?
Well, apparently he has a problem that a lot of us males have, is a giant serpent growing between his legs.
Yeah, it's it's a really and the damn thing is acting up on you. And
there's a lot of symbolism there, like the whole the Nordic or Aryan warrior fighting or slaying the serpent or dragon, and as a symbol of redirecting your energy, your vril, your chi, and harnessing it for something positive, versus just degeneracy or
being like chained down. I mean, there's so many mental dialectic legal chains on us Hyperboreans, us whites, that we have to struggle within limited motion. It's very, very, very hard to do, but somehow or other he always wins. So he
does.
So compositionally, this is a brilliant piece. I want to copy it in my art, but it's hard to copy this particular one because everyone will say, oh yeah, that comes, you ripped that off of Frazetta.
Yeah, I like the ghouls in the background, like waiting for him to get devoured by this serpent that he's wrestling with.
Right.
That's a nice touch, they're just, and like the buzzard there.
Yeah, great.
And you see and the chains and not the chains, the bars in the background. He's like imprisoned in a dungeon somewhere, and they're all just looking on like spectators at a Roman Colosseum killing or something.
Naturally, there's the bones of all the poor souls and warriors that fed the snake in this case here. So let's look at some more stuff. We could nerd out for quite a long time on Frazetta work. I
don't know what it is, but every Frazetta thing I see, like, it always reminds me of my bro Dave Martell.
Oh God, yeah, dude, are you kidding me? He's the man. He's the man.
He
right
is.
There. He in a sense, how do I say, like, he channels Frazetta. You know what I
He
mean?
does.
I think he
Yeah, he's
does.
just so epic. Whether he's well, maybe it's because I've been thinking a lot about the Biz Archives lately,
Hmm,
and
hmm.
that just reminds me of a lot of the content and thematic
Oh yeah.
content of Frazetta's work and all that, but also just Dave always reminds me of metal
Mm.
because he and I share a love of heavy metal, and when you look at Frazetta's paintings, like they look like they could be appropriate for pretty much any power metal album,
Yeah.
like
But
they're
I
all
feel
so
like
epic.
I I have a feeling like this was an album cover for somebody, but I can't confirm that. It just feels like it is. But here once again, you have the Hyperborean in an impossible situation, bravely charging and diving headlong into an army of zombies, and you see like the soldiers behind him. They appear as if like they're too afraid to jump in
Oh
with the
yeah, they're
famous
cowering
verses.
behind their shields.
Yeah, yeah, and here he's just like into the fray, with his bloody sword, and he's just all open arms and
Well,
just
check
like
out that horse. That
yeah,
horse is pissed, man. He's like going to bite
yeah.
someone.
Even the horse has a kind of a weaponized quality to it with his hoof coming out here. But as an
Yeah.
artist, I would always kind of notice just this kind of cool armor, and again the lighting and the 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 anatomy is a very, very huge part of it, like the sense of the kind of
Oh yeah.
muscles and all these sorts of things. The interesting use of color, where he has like hot and cool colors. You have like blue and reds. This strange kind of it almost looked like there's a storm coming in the background, and then the light coming straight down on top of him. It's super theatric. I would say that I'm sure a lot of filmmakers were probably inspired by his work.
Oh, I'm sure. Now I don't know. Do you happen to know whether Robert E. Howard, whether his writing? Uh, I'm guessing that he found Frazetta and commissioned him to do some Conan work or something.
Um, that's I don't I think they lived in different times. I think that the like the publishers, I know because I've seen some documentaries on Frazetta, and the publishers got to a point where the book sold so well that you could almost say that he like Frazetta's art revived Robert E. Howard in a way. They would
Oh
even
yeah,
say they'd say like, okay, we're republishing X book. You do whatever you want for the cover. Sorry, like they didn't even give him art direction. They just gave him total freedom, which is what you
nice.
should do. Yeah, that's what you should do with an artist of this caliber. Clearly. So
Yeah.
how do you like this piece?
Oh my. Well, yeah, certainly his depiction of the female anatomy is unparalleled, and the placement of the serpent there
Oh
that's
God,
definitely very sexual.
this is
But
definitely not for kids. This episode.
yeah, yeah, what happened to that poor girl's hair?
Oh,
Uh,
that's sad. Yeah, I mean that's such
yeah,
an
maybe,
integral part of femininity. Um,
yeah,
Powerful
and
piece
that's
of work.
significant though, isn't it? Like she's there confronting this huge green goblin of some kind. She's like doesn't have any hair. Uh,
I'm gonna guess that she's like a sorceress of some kind.
yeah, and maybe that's what happened to her hair. Maybe she
Yeah, exactly.
got involved in some bad juju there, and
I mean, it's
it can be a double-edged sword.
yeah. That I always think that when women shave their heads, it's kind of like they're castrating themselves. They do it to offend men, like that. I mean, unless you're like 70 years old and you're tired of taking care of your hair, but I'm talking like shaved heads. Like it's ghastly. It's
Oh
ghastly.
yeah,
There's nothing beautiful about it. It's clearly meant to be. It symbolically. I think it's clearly well known in feminist culture that that's kind of an anti-heterosexual symbol in a way.
yeah.
I don't think that Frazetta. Maybe he did mean that, but I mean, because like here's a sort of evil sorceress calling upon this creature, probably to do
Oh,
her dirty work.
yeah, and the way she's holding her extended finger and
Yeah,
her hand out is almost like a magical sigil in itself. And
right.
she's like commanding him to do her will and probably sending him out to kill a Conan or
Oh, sure.
some Aryan
Yeah,
warrior of some kind, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder how big her nose is. Never mind.
Well, I don't know. She's
That was
definitely not lacking in the trunk, if you know what
no.
I'm saying.
Another aspect of the Frazetta, what do you call it? The documentary is somebody somewhere determined that the female form was based on his wife. That he like his wife apparently was well endowed in the derriere, and so that was just something that like he put into a lot of his artwork. But anyway, that's one of those Frazetta nerd things to know. Here
Oh,
we have
yeah.
John Carpenter of Mars. It's too bad we don't have Dave Martell on the show. He'd be like exploding right now, talking about
Oh, yeah, man.
cool stuff. So for those of you that don't know, I'm illustrating the next issue of Bizarre Archives. It's a series of short stories in the horror, science fiction, pulp fiction vein genre. And I did the cover of the first issue. You can go to thebizarchives.com to get the first issue. It's on Amazon. I did the cover. Now I'm doing the cover and the interior illustrations. It's really exciting to be a part of it. And you'll see basically me trying to be Frazetta and failing.
Well,
But like in my
I
artwork.
gotta throw this out there, man. Like the next time we have Whackfest, dude, if you can make it, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to show up with my copy of the Bizarre Archives and also my copy of Thor Dynamite that I forgot to bring and have you
Oh,
sign them.
oh God, I would totally do that. Yeah. So
Yeah, man.
Thor Dynamite is a graphic novel I did with Comicsgate author John Delarose. It's still out there on Amazon. Dynamite Thor is a 1930s copyright-free superhero character. It's just silly fun, but how is it Comicsgate? How is it political? Well, the villains in the story are Islamic terrorists, and apparently you can't tell the truth about that in today's comic book world. Every aspect of our media culture has to be controlled by the overlords, and we have to. You know the whole story. I don't want to like preach about that. We all know,
Oh, yeah.
but
This is quite the piece. We've got this kind of reptilian looking creature with huge eyes. Reminds me a little bit of the Gollum creature from
oh,
the Rankin Bass animated movies,
mm. Oh yeah,
the
oh
way
yeah,
those eyes look.
yeah.
And then it's got butterfly wings of all things.
What comes to mind for me is Mothman, the legend of Mothman. Anybody ever hear of that? That's supposedly there's some sort of a winged man. It's one of those urban. It's not an urban legend. Apparently there's
Yeah,
actual sightings of this creature. I think in like the Pennsylvania area or something or other. People can look
yeah,
up
a movie
Mothman.
about it. The
Mm,
Mothman prophecies or something of that.
okay. So here
Yeah.
you've got some UFOs in the background, which seems to be like perhaps this is like an alien man butterfly hybrid sort of creature. What I love about it, frankly, is the color. Actually, I think that when you have artwork that has extremely dynamic light and darks in it, lights and shadows, when he kind of flavors it with all these lovely little colors that make it, I don't know, just kind of tasty. It adds a little sugar,
Oh, totally.
to the piece, and it gives it a little bit of life. Um, and they're very subtle. Now, the technique that he uses is if you look down where his name is at the bottom, he'll paint the whole canvas with a kind of a sepia brown, a kind of a medium brown, and then he'll
Yeah,
paint colors over top of it where that brown can kind of come through and it unifies the whole piece. That's a painting technique, basically. And then, of course, he'll
that's
darken it up.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's one of the tricks basically of what makes his art so great, basically. But
It's
let's look
so
at some,
it just jumps off the page. And I
yeah.
have to remark that that gentleman down in the corner that was dragging his lady friend,
Mhm.
does he not to you look a little bit like Ash from the Evil Dead series?
You know what? Ash looks a little bit like Frank Frazetta. I think that he kind of puts a bit of himself.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, I'm an illustrator. I've been working for years and years, and I've had lots of people say to me, you know, that guy kind of looks like you, you know, and I'm like, how do I stop doing that? It's, you know, because you know your own face better than anything, right?
Oh
And like
yeah.
the eyes, my eyes, I always find a way to get into the characters that I'm drawing, and I'll try to think of like, you know, like somebody that I know that maybe would fit a certain character in a scene or something. But and then there's other devices where like if you're doing like and someone who's evil, you're gonna give them a long nose and kind of crooked eyes and a long chin
Yeah.
and these weird
Got
attributes.
to get that aquiline nose on the villains.
There you go. It's a
That's an
thing.
important aspect.
Yeah, it's a little esoteric symbol for us to know something. Anyway, here, this piece is obviously a lot more colorful. Yellow and purple are complementary colors, and
Yeah.
he's a master at the playfulness of complementary colors. It just you don't really think of those things, I guess, when you see it, but it's just one of those kind of psychological things that happens in his work that tends to make it more beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
But,
This is really interesting. I'm having trouble telling that Spartan figure with the helmet there is a statue or an
yeah,
actual
it's
man.
it's a statue. The anatomy looks very realistic, but I believe it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I mean, it looks like it's got like some kind of I don't know.
Yeah, it's got some corrosion and some dripping moss of
Yeah,
some kind.
since he's on this pedestal, I'm just assuming
Yeah.
it's yeah.
But
Oh
it
no.
definitely it's almost like he's trying to say that this statue like represents the actual man or something.
Mm-hmm. And a certain civilization. So
Yeah.
this is one of the most famous pieces as well. So many of his pieces are famous.
Oh, yeah.
That character is called the Death Dealer. You know, the
Yes.
show is called Badass Art, so I had to show the Death Dealer.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a favorite of mine for sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, it reminds me of that. There's a little portion of the book Might is Right that I really
Mm.
enjoy, and he says that you know that the world is awaiting the coming great men of valor, angels of death,
Mm.
and basically how they're basically going to clean house,
Damn.
you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
go ahead.
People. No, I'm sorry. I'm just like recently. Some people have been talking to me about end time prophecies and various things, and I don't know. To me, I'm at a place where I feel like it would be an absolute miracle if we could avoid war at this point. It just seems
Oh,
like
same. Yeah.
I mean it's like our enemies are begging us to go to war with them. The way things are, and it's a tricky topic. It's certainly a glowy topic, if you will. So maybe
Oh, yes. And
now
speaking of glow.
this is my kind of glow right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
What an exquisite painting, my God. Now, granted, I always see these things as a painter, whereas I guess the common person would see it as for what it is, just the image itself. But
Hmm.
as I look at this, I notice the texture, the use of the paint to create texture on, like, on the these trees, the moss or the mold or whatever it is that he's got. Um,
Yeah.
the composition is freaking awesome. It's the use of light right on the breasts right there is like, okay, and then dead center in the painting is like, okay, we get it, Frank, we get it. But there's so many other elements in here that are just candy for your eyes. And I think the use of the Black Panthers adds so much to this woman, and like, who is she? That she is
Oh
like
yeah.
these she's maybe very feral, kind of sexual. The cat is kind of feminine, right?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, she looks like she could very well have cat ears and a tail if we were to examine her
Possibly.
more closely. Um,
I'll have to turn the painting around and look at the back, see what sound. No, I'm kidding. But here's
the
the
don't those branches look like those branches almost look like cattails in and of themselves, the way they curve.
the thing that I wanted to say, what's so magical about this is how moist the whole painting is. How there's a real sense of humidity in this piece that you like you can imagine deep in a jungle that it'd be filled with this kind of like all this kind of moss and overgrowth and weeds and you can almost hear the birds in the canopy, and it's just a magical piece. It's completely alive. So
Oh
you
yeah,
can
it really it's like a glorious depiction of the power and the virility of biological life.
indeed. This is the kind of painting that makes artists quit being artists because it's so damn good.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like a guitar
Well,
player listening to Ingve for, any
yeah,
longer than 10 minutes or so.
yeah.
Or
So
rather, the first 10 minutes of Ingve.
so I better hurry up and get off that painting because I don't want to lose my career. So I don't want
Yeah, yeah, I don't blame you, bro.
to. Yeah, there's so much good stuff here. You can't, you could really be here for a long time. But this is a pretty common theme, these kinds of. I think this is later work of his, but let me try to find some more exciting
Oh,
pieces.
that almost reminded me of Fire and Ice.
I think it was actually. So Fire and Ice it's
The
basically
animated movie, right?
right. It's an animated film that I would say it's completely based on Frazetta's art. I mean, am I wrong in assuming that? I
No,
think
because Dave Martell had a stream where we watched Fire and Ice, and he was commenting on that. Maybe that's why I connect Dave with Frazetta so
mhm.
hard. It's because one of my favorite streams was that stream where we all hung out and watched Fire and Ice, and he had excellent commentary throughout the film, and you could tell that Frank Frazetta was the man responsible for
Oh God,
drawing that artwork in the
yeah,
animation.
yeah, for sure. He's like Robert E. Howard in that he's an artist who seems as if he's reincarnated from that time. Like he's sort of channeling soul from this era, like a Hyperborean era of some kind. That it's just
Yeah.
extraordinary how he's able to kind of do these things. Here's something interesting. This just the way her hand is up, that seems to borrow from that one painting we looked at earlier with the
Yeah,
sorceress.
same hand position,
Um,
isn't it?
I think the placement of the sword is probably intentional in terms of what it might imply, but
Oh yeah, totally. So get this, man.
yeah,
So the
mm,
bald sorceress that was summoning the evil green troll,
yes.
she was using the left hand, i.e., the left hand path. And
Ah,
this lady has her hair and she's using the right hand.
it's
And they're
out.
also fighting a dragon,
Oh,
which is like a serpent. It's like the
right.
warrior versus I forget to mention that the dragon, the serpent, those are also both symbols of the wizard class, the
Mhm.
priestly class. And
Yes, 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 yes.
there's like this old feud that goes back like thousands of years between the different castes of Aryan society. And I guess there at some point, Robert Sepper was talking about it on his channel, but he
Mhm,
was talking about
mhm.
a war between the class of the warrior and the class of the wizard.
For sure, for sure. I think we're still in that war, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I think so. I
Yeah,
think so. Not to say that we don't have our own wizards on our side. I think we've got quite a
Yes.
few of those too.
You know what I just posted today on, there's a portrait of Frazetta for everybody to have a look at, the artist himself, actually. Just today I had posted that we in the white, positive, white identitarian sphere need to start harnessing the manifestation, the quantum physics, the science of manifestation. I know that a lot of people in our sphere are skeptical. They're kind of, scientism is a even though that's very leftist, is actually really deep in the right, in our sphere, in the far right. But I feel that, you know, we need to start looking into these other forms of science that we don't yet understand, and that would be manifestation. So, because if we collectively put our mind onto one thing, we would have immense power. There's already immense power within us, but we put most of our mind on anger of what our enemies are doing and what our so-called friends are failing at doing, how the Republican Party is failing, or how, you know, certain elements of Christianity is cocked, or this, that, and the other thing. And if we could kind of have a unified field of mind in which we are envisioning the Imperium, where we're collectively kind of, I don't know if you want to call it prayer or manifestation or chanting or this or that or the other thing, this is something we're not harnessing, and it's something I feel like we should talk about.
Oh yeah, totally. I have to add to that. So something I've been pondering lately, and it's kind of related to this struggle that we're in, you know, wanting to utilize more of the wizardly arts, you know, whether it be science or manifestation or psychology or whether you're a Christian, prayer, or if you're a pagan, magic and whatnot. It just kind of reminds me of, you know, like Odin, for instance. Odin he's not just a god of war, like a warrior. He's also like the god of magic, right? And he's kind of the combination of the two, which kind of reminds me of like the warrior priest, like the Shaolin monks, you know, like they were total badasses, but they were also like masters of Qigong, you know.
Yes. Oh, dude. I mean, so people know that I attended Shaolin Temple for 3 years, and that's where, of course, I learned Kung Fu, Qigong, which is like Chinese yoga, but it's an energy science that's 5,000 years old, that's used for both healing and for killing. You know, the methods of, you know, you see how they break bricks and things, you know, it's a deep practice. But anyway, the point I'm making is that I asked the Shaolin monk, you know, if Buddhism is about nonviolence and karma, how is it that you can teach killing and maiming like you're doing? Like why are you teaching Kung Fu, which is this like highly advanced form of killing people and war?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that put him on the spot. I mean, you're at Shaolin Temple and you ask that question in front of everybody. It's profound. But he loved when I did that. He was like, you know, ask more questions like that, you know. So anyway, he explained, for starters, if the monks had not learned these martial skills, then Buddhism would have died long ago, because the whole history of China is civil war. And so you know, you get the idea. So for starters, it's to protect the religion, the teaching. And but then he went on, you know, this guy's a 34th generation Shaolin monk. He's anyway, I could go on a nerd topic there, but he's explaining, I would, as a monk, go to hell for killing a man in order to save a life, because partly that's my mission as a monk, and partly because I know that hell is temporary, like everything, that it's just it's a cycle. You pay your karmic dues and then you move on to the next cycle. And not only that, in the Buddhist pantheon, there are Buddhist saints that specifically go to hell to save souls. So
That's really interesting to me, because that was one of the reasons I left the church, was the idea of the eternal hell. And
yeah,
to me, that idea of what you just mentioned about hell being just a cycle, you do your karmic duty, and then, that to me sounds a lot more just, because the punishment fits the crime. We're mortal beings,
yeah,
commit so many sins,
yeah.
in our lifetime. But yeah,
Well,
that's really fascinating. I did not know that about Buddhism.
yeah. I can tell you more about that, but
Yeah,
powerful topic, deep topic for sure.
yeah. Little tangent there.
No, actually, that's part of the art experience. Is that it's the art that's stimulating these conversations.
Totally.
Narratives and such. I guess I would say my current understanding is that the third dimension where we live, Earth itself, is hell. It's not the worst hell. Being born as an animal would be worse than being born as a human. But according to the Buddhists, how can I say, all the manifestations from man to demigod are not pure freedom. You're not off the wheel of rebirth and reincarnation. You're not a full-blown Buddha. You're not connected and merged infinitely with the divine. So it's all going to have suffering. So they're called bardos. They're called like this sort of different houses or different places in one palace, if you will. I don't know how to describe it, but at the same time, Buddhists say that being born as a human is the optimal form to be born in order to escape the wheel of karma. So this has turned into like a Buddhist show all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah, no, that's very interesting. You should do a show about that. That would be very fascinating.
Do hundreds of shows about this stuff, but anyway. So this has been a phenomenal hour with you. It's over an hour actually, and clearly it's the kind of thing we could go on and on talking about. This is a quick portrait of Frazetta's wife here, by the way, who's kind of the model for a lot of the pieces that we looked at. But
she's muscular. Look at her. She's got some muscle to her.
Well, I guess if she's got to survive in the Hyperborean world, so
Yeah,
but,
that's probably why. She's got to be able to take on those orcs that those bald sorceresses like to summon.
Well, let's let the audience know where they can find you, buddy, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Luke Mason So Hard. I've got a Bandcamp, for now at least. It says So Hard at Bandcamp.
Okay.
And yeah, and gosh, I'm on Gab too. I want to use that platform a lot more because they have speech. I have a YouTube channel, of course, Imminent Rain. Yeah, so I'm kind of all over the place. I like to frequent as many of the whack streams as I possibly can. A lot of times I like to catch modernity leave when I can. I'm a huge fan of Nolus with the Conversations with the Wind. I really appreciate the poetry, and you could probably catch me lurking on also one of No White Guilt streams, or like a For Null stream, or I really enjoy watching you create art too, Donald. That's
I have to get back to that soon. It's been a while since I've done a live studio stream. Well, I will put your links in the show notes, so everybody watching this, check out the links. Follow Luke. His work is phenomenal. Join us at the whiteartcollective.com and all our events. And once again, thanks to all the people in the chat that have joined us today. It's lovely to see you again. Please do share this in your network, and let's get the word out. And of course, if you have any questions, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave some comments, and you guys have yourself an awesome rest of the day. Take care.
Thanks, Donald.
Cheers.